Hi, guys. Welcome back to Marked, the podcast. We are super, super excited to be back for another EP. And today is super special because we have a guest with us.
We have a special guest, Miss Alexis Washington. She's here with us
Hey,
today on the
y'all.
podcast. So we'll just let you introduce yourself. Tell us about you, what you do, who you are, where you're from. Just give us a spiel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am Alexis. Like she said, I'm from Letcher, Louisiana. I am a licensed master social worker, and I'm also an entrepreneur. So I provide essentials and events to people that are ready to walk in like more of like to walk more confidently, I guess you could say. So I have an online boutique, and then I also do empowering and wellness events for women. And then I'm also starting a nonprofit next year called the Brace Project with two of my friends.
Oh, wow. My girl has a lot going on, but we all know she is a woman of God. So, can you kind of share with us a little bit of how you kind of started your journey with Christ and how it led to you becoming a social worker and a business owner?
Okay, so definitely not the traditional route. I'd say my family, they always knew God. It was always, make sure you pray, make sure you know some scripture. Like my grandmother was the head deaconess of her church for years, probably my whole life. And that was them. But like I was a busy child. So I was lucky enough or blessed enough to have all of my grandparents, bunch of aunts, aunties, like people married, divorced, got married again. So like I have all these extras, lots of love, but it always kept me busy. So on the weekends, when typically people are going to church, I was like somewhere. Whether it was like this grandparent's house, this aunt's house, this friend's house, always busy. And I did dance teams, so that kept me busy through the week. It wasn't until the summer after my freshman year of college that I really like found God for me, because it was the first time that I was like doing nothing. So I'm not working, I'm not in school, I'm not going by so and so's house. I'm living not by myself, but I have like my own room and bathroom and stuff with my student apartment. So it was just me and God, and he used that to speak to me because I felt very like unfulfilled. I felt like I should be doing something else. Like school came pretty easy, so it wasn't like a struggle. But I wasn't doing all the things that I used to do. I wasn't dancing. I wasn't helping my grandparents or anything. Like just me and him. And I took that time and I was like, what am I here for? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? What do you want me to do? I saw this video on Facebook. It was Sarah Jakes Roberts. And she said something. She was like, it might just be you and God for a season. And I was like, who is this woman? Like, I got to know more about her. And this is like 2019. So go on YouTube. I discovered not only is she T.D. Jake's daughter, but she's also married to Teray Roberts. And he has a church in California. I became an internet member. I was watching them before COVID. So it was like, that was my thing. And I spent that entire summer like learning God, figuring out who he was, asking him who I was to him. And then it was probably around like a 4th of July or something like that. I was in the store looking for like an outfit. And I just heard like this still small voice. And it was like, you could do this. But it didn't make sense to me because I'm like, I mean, I could, but like, why? Why would I start an online boutique? Like, I like fashion, cool, yes, but this isn't something that I'm like extremely passionate about. And over time, I'd say over that summer, he trained me in like hearing his voice, understanding his voice, and he was giving me everything of like the why before the what. So yes, started an online boutique, but he was giving me the why. I'm not selling clothes, I'm selling confidence. This is one step in the right direction of what you really want to do. It was that type of thing. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, God, like, where are we going? Because I find myself being so sensitive to his spirit that, like, I didn't really want anything else. Like, once I realized, like, you talk to me, I talk to you, I know your voice, that was it for me. It was like, I'm doing whatever you tell me to do because that makes me feel full versus just kind of going through life every day.
Yeah, that is a really beautiful story, and I just love how you kind of share with us, like really hearing God's voice and like knowing that this is him, this is not me, but this is him speaking to me, and also being sensitive to the spirit. Because I feel like in this season that I'm in life, like I have to be super sensitive. And even with like having a platform and then you are like pouring into people every day, you have to be so sensitive to the God's spirit, because you have to be alert of like how the enemy can be coming into situations, and then how God is moving and what you should say in those moments when you are with your students, or you are with clients, or you are with your clients who are buying from your boutique. So yeah, I just love your story and how God really had to get you alone in 2019 to be like, hey daughter, this is what I want you to do. This is going to be your purpose. So I just love hearing people's stories, like of how they came to the Lord and just their journey like with him. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. That was really good. And also, I am a fan. I am a lover of Sarah Jakes, y'all. Listen,
Yes.
the podcast know that I love her so much, y'all. And excuse my sinus allergies are acting up, y'all.
Mine too.
Girl,
Okay, so it's
so
not
bad.
just me.
Like y'all. So
But
excuse
yeah.
me, yeah.
2019, when I discovered who she was, it, like, to me, a lot of people are like, that's TD Jakes' daughter. But like, it wasn't even that. Something in her, like,
Yes.
it's like she made my baby leap, essentially. Like, she really like made me curious. And to watch her walk out her process of not being sure where she fit in the church and in ministry, and to watch that is like, yes, if you could do it, I could do it. You know, like, she's very real and raw. She is not hiding. She's very much honest. And then this was my first year actually going to Woman Evolve. I just got back like a month ago.
Wow.
How was that experience? Because we wanted to go, but we missed it. How was that?
Okay, so all I knew was this year I had to be there, right? I was like, I've been watching online since 2019. Like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going this year. It was amazing. I was nervous because it was 40,000 people, but it did not feel like 40,000 people. So I was going to go by myself, but my best friend was like, she wanted to come. She was like, I think I'm going to come. So I was like, yes, come. We went together, but she's in grad school. So she had to like step out, do homework, come back, that type of thing. So the first night I went on my own. But even then, being by yourself with 40,000 people, you're not alone. Like, as soon as you even get to the Globe Life field, because that's where it was, like, even outside, it felt homey. But when you walk through those doors, that's a different feeling. That is a different feeling. It really felt like you can feel the Holy Spirit in that room. Like, it doesn't matter how many people, what was going on. It was amazing. All the speakers, all the panelists, like, it was very intentional and very well thought out. 10 out of 10 recommend. Go, but what I will say is go when you're called to go. Don't go because everybody else is going. Because that might not be when you're supposed to go.
Right.
You know, like the word that she has for you or whoever on the panel or the discussions, go when they are like you feel compelled to go. I'll say that for sure. Because a lot of people were like, I wanted to go. I was like, that just means it wasn't your time. It's okay. Like, she's not going anywhere. She's going to do it every year.
Right.
But every year may not be for you.
That's a good point, because
is
I think
really
often
good.
we just want to do things because everybody else is doing it. So it's like, okay, they going to the conference, I gotta go
the
to.
hype.
It's
The
like,
hype.
should you really be going? Like, think about it, pray about it. Like, should
Pray
you
about
go?
it. Oh my goodness, pray about it. Because every word that was spoken, every quote, that every song spoke to something in me. And then like the people around me, they also were getting that same feeling. There were people behind you getting delivered from things just through worship. Like, just through the song, just through something so small, 10-word sentence. And it was everything they needed to put them into their next season. So if you're not going in there for the right reasons, you're going to find things wrong. You're going to be concerned about the other things. But no, if you got to go by yourself and you feel called to go, go. Don't just go because people going. Go for you.
Oh my
So like,
goodness.
how since you were talking about like going, like doing things on purpose, how did you really like tap into like how God was calling you to, I guess, go to school to become a social worker? How was that feeling for you? How did you discover your why?
Okay, so my why. I've always known that I wanted to work in like therapy. I knew that was something that I really wanted to do. Like, I was a child, I wasn't watching Disney Channel. I was probably watching Lifetime,
Oh my God.
Law and Order, Criminal Minds,
I
like
love Law and Order.
same.
Child.
SVU was like my thing.
Yes.
Like, get off the school bus, go watch TV. So I always knew I wanted to work in mental health. I was in 8th grade. I was the only person that wanted to go into like social sciences of some sort. And at first I thought that it was just like psychology. But the school counselor at my school, she was a social worker. Like, that was her title. So I was like, I want to do what you do. Tell me what you do. And she's like, well, I'm a school counselor, but my background is in social work. And she told me how she got there. So she started working here, then she worked there. She was like, the reason I did social work instead of psychology was because I can be in multiple places. And I was like, okay, so that's the route. And it was like a knowing. It wasn't like any question for me. And then my high school offered dual enrollment. So I was able to like rack up on credits before I even got to LSU. And like, I knew my route. I was like, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. That is the one thing that I knew. I knew that I wanted to work in mental health. It wasn't until I got to college and I had that experience over that summer that I realized that mental health can be brought to different places. It doesn't have to be on a couch, me and you.
Right.
And what God is doing now is he's helping me to put the pieces together of like the things that I'm really passionate about to do the same thing and to still carry out that mission of mental health and promoting people to improve their mental health and really live a life that's, well, not stretched, because we like the hustle and grind. We like that. I'm saying that, but I'm not going to lie to y'all. I do the same thing sometimes. I go a little hard. But over time, he has kind of showed me what it was, because when I was younger, I knew I wanted to be a therapist and I wanted to host conferences. Never understood what that meant. Because wait, I'm talking to y'all and I just realized I did host a conference. Wow. Okay. So yeah.
You did indeed.
It's like, wow. He's putting those pieces together for me now in terms of like events. Because I just did my own empowerment wellness brunch in this past July. And then I just hosted my Friend Sade's version 2 conference this past weekend. So he's starting to put the pieces together. And he used the online business to be like that platform to reach people first.
And can you kind of share with us a little bit more about the event that you did host?
July.
Yeah. In July. Can you kind of share with us more about that?
Okay, so that was my very first women's wellness and empowerment brunch. I was really big on making sure that I promoted it as a wellness brunch versus an empowerment brunch, because empowerment brunches have now grown to this like negative connotation of like mean girls and like, that type of thing. So I wanted to be really intentional. Like, this is not your traditional empowerment brunch where we talk about me all day. Like, I barely talked about myself. I'm gonna be honest. But it started with, so me being an academic counselor, I was seeing my students last winter, so like November, December, and I'm noticing certain students needed help in certain areas and they all came from the same area. So I was like, okay, there's a need here. We need to prepare them a little bit better for them to come into college. I thought about hosting like a head of the curve holistic approach to college workshop. And when I started thinking about it, God was like, yeah, we're gonna do the women's thing too. Because I've always wanted to do like a women's like bosses brunch. That's what I would call it. But I wanted to do it with my friends. I didn't want to do it by myself. I never thought of like doing that on my own because I have 3 friends. They're all business owners. And we always we made it a point at the end that season to always meet up like once a month. And we were like, we got to do this for other people, y'all. But as time progressed, it was like we kind of fell off, like life happens. But when I started thinking about that workshop, he was like, no, women's workshop too. Let's get on that. And then I just started praying about it, and he started showing it to me. Esther 4:14, that's like the scripture of like, it's time. If you don't do it, I'll get somebody else to do it, but I'm asking you to do it. So I did it because, I'm not questioning him. So I started planning it, and I was really intentional about the people that I put on the panel. I wanted each of them to speak of the different faces that they have, whether that's like a business owner, a mom, a wife, student, whatever that looks like, and how they take care of themselves. Because those people led by example in terms of like what it's like to live a healthy life, but also still do what you want to do and empower you. So got that together. I created like brochures and flyers of like, what does wellness mean? Like, what are all the phases of health? Is that physical health, mental health, spiritual health? I'm drawing blank, but like all the different healths. And we talked about that. We also talked about how do you balance it all? And I'm like, you don't. You prioritize. Because that was like one of the questions. I also had vendors there. So all of the vendors were like women-owned businesses. They were people that are either just starting out in their first couple of years that wanted to get their business out there. I was really intentional about that because I didn't want just anything. I was like, this is a women's event. Everything's going to be... The only man besides my dad was the chef. It was like, this is an all women's event, Women's Day, and it turned out amazing. The lady that decorated, she owns the building, blew my mind. I only gave her colors, and she just kind of showed out. She had like printouts and cutouts of me and empower her. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And even that atmosphere kind of set the tone for the people that walked in the room, because they were like, oh my goodness, this is so nice, I want to take pictures. They felt really good about them. And then like all the discussions that were happening, the people that were networking and meeting each other, they all kind of lifted each other up in some way. They're like, me too, I'm going through that, I'm struggling that. And I'm just like in awe, because I didn't even get to like say my little spew or anything, but it turned out amazing. And people left with a different headspace. And I was like, that's all we needed. It doesn't even matter that I got to, like, it's okay. We're good.
Well, I love that. I love that so much. And just like you being obedient and giving God your yes to do that, to host that, because I know how stressful it can be to host events, to get people to come, to promote. And it's just like, oh. And when everything just comes together, it's like, y'all, it was nothing but God, because without him, this would not have been possible. So, like, we really do commend you for doing that, because we know what it takes to kind of pull people together to host an event, get vendors. Like, people kind of see the glitz and the glam, but they don't know the behind the scenes.
They see the finished part.
Yes.
And then that's when you get the comments of like, I'm not missing the next one. Catch me at the last one. And I'm like, but why was I begging y'all to come to this one?
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, it's hard.
Listen, we know.
If you're not holding up hookah and you don't have the right song, they're not coming. They're not paying for their ticket, because they can go do something else.
Yeah. So we really do commend you for that. But even creating a space where women can learn more about being a better version of themselves, I think that's really powerful, because as believers, we kind of just think going to church or reading our Bible, that's good. But it's more to life than just doing those things. You have to take care of yourself mentally and physically. So why do you think that there is such a negative connotation around like mental health, seeking therapy, seeking any kind of help, like as believers? I know for like so long we just feel like, if I go to church, I talk to my pastor, then that's good. But it's like, there are men and women of God who are therapists, who are social workers, who are counselors, who are willing to give you that help. And it's like, people don't want to get the help. You know what I mean? So
Definitely.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a few reasons. One being like a negative stigma, right? So in the process of me planning my brunch, I asked all the women in my life questions. One of them that I asked my mom was like, I can't remember the question, but her answer was, well, I think that your generation gets to heal. We didn't get that. We didn't, as if like they didn't have that option. And that spoke to me, because it was like, okay, so you're looking for the permission to say you're not okay. You're looking for the permission to say it is that serious, because, it's never that serious and you just need to go pray about it and all that. But when she said that, what I heard was nobody gave you that permission. And I think that that's one piece of it, as like everybody kind of swept it under the rug. You'll be okay. Just pray about it. Oh, you better go on a fast. You'll be okay. Give it 3 days. You're going to be okay. And that's it. That's all they tell you. And then they tell you to pray. They pray with you at the altar on Sunday, but nowhere to be found come Wednesday, right? The other thing I think is pride. I think that Christians feel the pressure of having to have it together versus people that are not Christians or believers of Christ. They feel like if I'm supposed to lead by example, then I have to have it together and I have to show up on 10 every day, no question. And it's a prideful thing to ask for help because you are the help. You know, when you are the person helping people and you are evangelizing, telling them, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe that he'll heal you? You don't feel like you can become numb to the fact that he can do the same for you. Because we always think of physical healing versus mental healing. We always think of broken arms, broken limbs, diabetes, blood pressure, but we don't think about like a broken heart. We don't think about anger. We don't think about unforgiveness. And they always tell you that it's going to be okay, just pray. And I think that's the problem. I think that we have to break this down and show people the process, because you're selling a story of, well, if I live my life like them, I'll be okay. But they don't see when you're in your car crying. They don't see when things aren't going your way. They don't see your bank account. They don't know. But if we started to be more honest about that, we could normalize it a little bit better to say, like, it is okay to get help.
That's really good. That is really good.
Yeah. So, like, did you ever have, like, an opportunity where you, like, actually going to a therapist? Or were you always, like, that person that's like, okay, I'm going to pour into myself first?
I think a little bit of both. So, like, growing up, I was that friend that, oh, you give good advice. I'm going to ask her. I'm going to ask Lexi. But when I got to college, because I majored in social work, the biggest thing that my professors taught me was to take care of yourself. And you need the self-care. And even if it's one time, you need to go sit on the other side of that chair.
Right.
So go see a therapist and see, you know, I know you know the things that you'll do in therapy and you know how to fix anger, how to fix forgiveness, but go do it. And they really challenged us on that. Like, I had one class, like, one of the projects was to do a self-care activity and take a picture of yourself doing it. So I did go see a therapist. The only reason I stopped was because our schedules don't line up anymore, but I'm actively looking for someone that will, because I don't think that we should always go to therapy for the bad stuff. I think that we should make it a practice. You go to the doctor once a year, you know, like you go get your annual screenings and all that. Let's make mental health a piece of that, because it might turn out better. You may not have to go and be on all this blood pressure medication if we can deal with your anxiety. You know, that's something that people don't think about. You know, they think they're just eating because they're hungry. No, you stuffing something. So it's one of those things where we have to do a better job at leading by example. And then eventually, hopefully, the future generations will make this a regular thing. And we see that now. Jobs are giving people mental health days. Students or children are much more open and honest because their parents are giving them the space to be honest about how they feel. And so, what is it, soft parenting? That's what
gentle.
they call it? Gentle parenting. We see that now. So there's hope for the next few generations.
Parenting, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
She does.
It's hilarious, too.
She's funny. She is funny.
I like that you mentioned that, though, because we were talking to my mom about that the other day, about how, like, growing up, we feel like we didn't really have, like, the space to just, like, share what we were going through with her. And she was like, what? Oh, my goodness, why not? I'm just like, Mom, I don't know. Like, we just never felt like we had that space to do that. And so now I think it's, like, a big thing, like, gentle parenting. It's like, okay, talk to your parents about what you're going through. That might can get you a therapist. Because you're just going through all these things alone, and you're just holding it all in. And then eventually it's just, like, turns into anger, or they just see you as like this bad child, this rebellious child. But it's like you just have all this stuff that you're going through that you're not telling them about.
Right. And like for me, when I went to college, they used to always laugh because I would say, like, my mom was my first bully. But like I really meant that because she's so funny, but she's very honest. But she grew up without that permission to feel things. So I can say now that I'm older, I know that me always crying is like me being sensitive to spirit. And like, that's me and God. Like, that is, I understand it now. I have language for it. But as a child, I didn't know why I always cried. And she's like, what are you crying for? Like, I didn't do you anything. What are you crying for? And she would laugh because I just was a crybaby. So they're like, oh my goodness, she bullied you. I'm like, no, I'm being sarcastic. But she really, like, she grew up in that generation of like, you gonna be okay. Like, y'all so soft. And I'm like, no, we're just actually honest and in touch.
Right, with our emotions.
Versus, you know, a generation that comes from like anger, and they have like that. Anger is an iceberg feeling. So there's so much under anger that people don't even think about. Why are you angry? You know, like, what does that stem from? Does that stem from resentment? Does it stem from fear? Like, what is that? But, and that's just an example. Older generations, they don't think about it that way. You know, they look at therapy as something that's weak. Y'all so soft.
Wow, girl. Because I am a crybaby too. Like, I will cry over anything. Listen.
That's why when you cried, I cried.
Yes,
I was like, I don't know why we crying, but I'm crying.
I'm like, Lord. But it was like growing up, like you mentioned, like it was hard because it's like, why am I always crying? Like, I'm trying to hold it together. And it's like, they literally just flow out. Like, and like you said, that is really me being aware of the spirit too sometimes. Like at the conference when I was crying, I was like, is something more? Because at first, I had got myself together. Like, let me give Lex her rose. And I'm like, why am I crying?
That's me. I'm all like,
Girl,
why?
like,
Why am I crying? What is going on? But now I understand that that's like being in relationship with God and feeling the way he feels about things and grieving the things that he grieves or celebrating the things that he celebrates.
Right. It's so good. And like you were talking about with the older generation, this conversation is crazy because like just looking at like our grandmother and the way that she kind of processes her emotions, it's almost like we love her to death, but she just kind of holds things in. And I just noticed that a lot with just older people, like, you know, late 50s, early 60s, like that generation. We were talking about, what is the name of that generation?
Oh my goodness.
We were talking
Was it
about
the-
that.
I think the baby boomers.
The baby boomers, I think that is that generation.
Or they're like right after, but I don't know. But yeah, somewhere
like
around
the
there.
way they process things, it's like they're so used to getting things done. Just, we don't have time to feel right now. We have to work. We have to provide for the family. And like now in this generation, we're like, I need a mental health day. I'm tired. That was a lot for me. I need to take myself out to get a meal because that was, and it's like they view us as almost weak for a lack of a better term. But it's like, no, we're just aware of our emotions and how we feel, because if we don't deal with those things now, it'll just come up in other areas, whether that's in like other relationships, or we just going off on people who we love, and it's like, where did they even come from? You're like, I don't even know. I'm mad, and I'm just spilling it out at you. And even when it comes to like ministry, like you have to be so careful because you can kind of bleed on the people. And it's like you have to get it together. You have to really lock in with yourself and know like, hey, this is not a good day for me. So like even you bringing that up about the older generation, them not feeling like they have the space or the time to just sit with a therapist or to sit with themselves and their emotions, like that has affected us, because now we're like, why I can't talk to nobody? Why am I holding everything in?
Then
It's
you feel bad for like trying to get help.
yes, and it's like, girl,
Like, how are they gonna see me because I'm going to a therapist? Like, what are my family gonna
There's
say?
a lot
about
of
that?
shame attached to it.
yes, a lot of shame, and it's like because you're seeking help from someone else, it's almost like, what's wrong with you? You seeking help? Help yourself. It's like, no, I need somebody to help me.
And that's the thing, like it goes back to the pride piece. We can't do it all.
Right. That is
There's
so true.
nothing that we can like you can only do that for so long. I guess that would be a better way to say that, because it will bottle up. And Dr. Anita talked about this at the Woman Evolve conference. She talked about the fact that trauma will be passed down for up to 14 generations. And it may not look the same as it's passed down generation by generation, but little pieces of it affect the way that you treat people. It affects the way that you view people and the way you view yourself.
Have to break those generational curses.
We really do. Baby, it stops with us.
And that was something that she talked about. She was saying that when Christ died on the cross, he broke those curses. But now we have to undo the cycles connected to those curses, because we live in that cycle of like, well, this was the way it was always. Like, I'm trying to think of a better way to say that. But like, it was always like this. So this isn't anything new. They normalize things that are not normal. And now we're the generation that says, no, that's not normal. It's normal to you, but it's not normal to me, and it's not going to be normal anymore. And undoing that.
Yeah. But I think too, like, it's kind of hard to be that one to undo those things. But like, it has to be done in, like, even the way like God is just moving our generation. It's like we don't have time to play. That's what I feel, y'all. It's like we don't have time to play. It's like the enemy is working, but God is working harder. He is working harder. So I feel like, though we may see like crazy things in the music industry, people just, y'all know what we've been seeing. I'm not gonna get into that. But like, even though there are those things happening in the world, God is still calling out his children. And he's saying, get ready, get prepared. We're no longer doing things how they've been done before, but we're moving, we're shifting. And if you're not in this shift, you're gonna get left, okay?
And the thing about that is, like, I've kind of been working through this, talking to myself. I talk to myself a lot. If you talk to yourself, it's normal. Don't let nobody tell you that's not normal. The scripture that says, like, he's gonna shake everything until that which can't be shaken remains. And we're seeing this in real time. People don't like real time. They don't like real time Sauls that go to Paul's. They don't like real time David that makes a mistake and then repents, and he's still after God's heart even though he messed up. So like, we get the backlash from everywhere. We get the backlash from the church because it's like, you shouldn't be doing that, and they're judging you for not doing it the way that it's always been done. But then you also get the backlash of your boldness, because they want to be bold for the enemy but get mad when we're bold for God. And it's like, you're getting it from all sides. But again, he's shaking everything so that which cannot be shaken will be left. And I think that's where that urgency comes from when we talk about God awakening his people. And our generation are really excited. There's like, we're on fire right now because we feel that urgency to really wake up and say, it is time. It's time to do whatever he's placed on your heart to do. You got to do it now, because there are people depending on your obedience. And there are people you're going to meet every step of the way that will help you to understand, like, that's why I had to do that on that day, because it would lead to this moment. But that's not an easy feat, you know, because in that process, that looks different. That looks like living in a pandemic. That looks like living in an economy that's about to be in a recession. We really are in a recession, but you know what I mean? Like, it's ghetto out here. But he called us to live in this, and he gave us everything we need to be in this ghetto.
Very ghetto.
Very.
Oh my goodness.
That's so good, because like literally we went through COVID, like we didn't have jobs, but we had everything we needed.
Literally, job.
Like God was providing.
Didn't miss a meal.
Right, that's the thing. Like, so I told y'all, I surrendered to like the walk with Christ July of 2019. So 2020 was like, let's go. January, I'm like, I'm going to get serious about this now that I know why he wants me to do it. So I'm preparing to do the boutique. I'm like, I'm going to launch in March of 2020 now. I worked for a nonprofit at the time, and I got furloughed on March 13th. So they're like, yeah, that check you looking for, it's not coming. Because that was a Friday. So it was like, yeah, that money you looking for, it's not coming. The next week, I'm taking the pictures for the website, and I get a call. They're bringing my dad to the hospital. So him and my stepmom, they didn't know that they had COVID, but they had COVID. And it was like before we even had a name for it. So she was getting better. He was getting worse. So she's like, we're going to take him to the hospital. Of course, at that time, you have to go by yourself. So it didn't make sense for me to drive to New Orleans to sit outside. And everybody's pulling up so that I can take these pictures and stuff. So I'm like, okay, wow. All right, whatever. The next week was when I was supposed to like launch the website. And the day that I was going to do that, well, the day that I did do that was the day that they were like, yeah, no, we have a curfew. Don't go outside. I know you need toilet paper, but don't take all of it. So nobody, needless to say, nothing happened. Boutique flopped. Nobody bought anything except my friend Bethany. She bought like one of everything. But that was it. And I didn't have any money coming in to even like push it forward and like buy more inventory because lost a job 2 weeks before that. So that's like week of problem. And I'm like, God, you told me to do this. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And then between March and August, I was like, all right, I'll go back to working at Buffalo Wild Wings because I used to do that in high school. I was like, it's not as much money, but it is what it is. So went to do that, and I kind of like stacked up the money and really got back to the drawing board of what he wanted me to do with the boutique. And I'm like, this is your thing. Let me know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And in that process, people would ask me, like, how did you start your business? What did that look like? How do you take your pictures? Who does your graphics and things like that? And that's when I realized it wasn't about the clothes. It was about the process. And he made me start that business just to show people the process and to lead by example and doing it God's way and not the world's way, because like I'm not a super popular person. I don't have clout, like they say, like literally started from the bottom. So for me, it was like, okay, so it's not about that. It's about the process. It's about showing people that. So now I have to be intentional about that. And I did. And that's when he gave me 828. August 28th was the day that I would like relaunch. And then my cousin did a pop-up shop the very next day. So that was successful, but that was the right time versus that March date that I wanted, you know. So, yeah, 2020 was crazy.
So you started a brand during the pandemic.
And the brand is still alive and well.
Right.
Listen, I really like that March moment of like losing my job, dad being sick, business not doing anything. I was like, we're going to give it a year. We're going to see. If this don't pop off in a year, this ain't it. But over time, you realize, like, no, that's not how business works. No, that is. It takes years to create something that's going to last and that's going to be built to last. And I'm like, all right, I'm okay. So we're in year 3. We're still growing, nowhere near where I want to be, but we're getting there. And it's not, like I said, it's not about the clothes. It's about leading by example in the process.
Wow. That is so good. And like you said before, you're not selling clothes, you're selling confidence.
Right. And that's something he recently like solidified for me. Because I knew the why was you want to make people feel good. Therapy is not the only way to do that. I need to get you out of that mindset. So it was like, if, you know, when people feel good, like when they look good, they feel good. So that was the logic for a long time. And then he gave me, you're not selling clothes, you're selling confidence. I'm like, wow, you said it. I didn't think that I was confident, but okay.
And that's funny because at the conference, I said, you're so confident.
And I looked at you crazy because I was like, what? Like me? But it's really not me. I wish I could say that, but it's not. It's God, because I can't. Like, I'm the type of person, I will, like, what is that? When I rehearse, I will rehearse things to try to make sure I get it right. Like, I'm a person that's very anxious. So when people tell me that I'm confident, I'm like, wow, this is new. Okay. All right, God.
Oh,
wow.
This has been a really great conversation, Lex. We really appreciate you for coming on, taking time out your schedule to talk to us. It means a
Busy
lot to us.
woman.
It's okay.
Yes.
This is the type of things that I feel like he's leaning me towards now. So, like, when y'all invited me, it was not, like, I didn't even feel like I could say no. So, thank y'all for inviting me, because you just unlocked something. We are in a new era for sure.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm grateful. So, thank y'all.
Yes. And can you, like, plug your Instagram and your business page, too, for the people? So they can follow
Okay.
you?
I know it's a lot, y'all, but it's not that much, I promise. So you can find me on Instagram at Lex, Lex.lux_. that's me. You can find all my other pages in that bio. And then the boutique, if you want some essential clothing, like this cardigan, these
Super
jeans.
cute.
It's shop SHOPLLE_. And then we will be launching our nonprofit next year, so 2024, called the Brace Project. So you can find all of those. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot. I also have a community page that I want to really start doing things on called Bosses Block. So it's bosses.block on Instagram.
Oh, are you
And
still
that's where I
doing
have like
planners?
all my events.
Your
You
planners.
still,
Okay.
yes.
I have 2 planners that are like journal planners. So they have some inspirational content, but it's also weekly, daily, and monthly sheets in the planner. And then you have some blanks for like your brain dumps and stuff in the bio of the Bosses Block page.
Love that. We love that.
That's going to be my page for my events. So that's going to be something, that's a 2024 project.
Okay. Gotcha. But thank you so much again, Lex. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. So you've heard God's word. Now act accordingly. Peace and blessings.